Great. So we've started the recording off. You are all very welcome now to get yourself comfortable. You're welcome to have a lie back this evening if that feels like it will be welcoming to you. For those of you who've been perhaps on your feet today or sitting at a desk today, pay particular attention to finding a little bit of comfort through the flats of the shoulder blades. Notice how you feel in the lower back. And if you need to, bend the knees just to allow that little space in the lower back to naturally curve, to take its time to release into the floor. Notice how you've positioned your hands. If it feels more comfortable for you to have the palms turned down towards the floor, perhaps consider turning the palms up towards the ceiling in a gesture of receptivity, softening the fingers, softening the wrists, allowing the ankles to release. Notice the set of your jaw. Unclench the teeth. Allow the tongue to relax in the well of the mouth. As we spend these next few moments releasing any tension of the day, working with the breath, softening on every exhalation, nourishing on any inhalation. Don't feel any pressure to force the breath, control the breath. Just allow the breath to enter and leave the body, much like an old friend. Just comes and goes as it pleases, bringing joy on the inhalation, and a sense of quiet and calm as it leaves. Take a moment here to scan your body from head to toe and notice anywhere that may be asking for a little extra attention. Consider directing the breath to any part of the body where you know you carry tension, where stress manifests for you. With each deeper inhalation, softening and widening. With each fuller exhalation, that sense of release, of letting go. Allowing the weight from the back of your head down through the length of your spine to ease a little more deeply into the floor beneath you. Now, if you've chosen to start with the knees bent, let's just take a moment to extend the legs along the mat. If that gives you any discomfort, try widening the feet a little. Keep those arms by your side. Then gently draw the fingertips in towards the palms to make little fists. Inhale to squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears. Creates a sense of tension through the shoulders, through the upper body. Then as you exhale, relax the shoulders, relax the hands, relax through the back of the head. On the next inhalation, let's take our time to lift the arms overhead. So we spoke a couple of weeks ago about this sense of perhaps having limitation through the shoulder joint. So if your arms feel relaxed and heavy enough to rest the backs of the palms on the floor, then feel free to go through that full range of movement. If you have resistance here, try widening the arms, or perhaps just resting the hands a couple of inches from the floor, working with the breath again to find that release. On the next breath in, become a little more active through the fingers. So pointing through the fingers, pointing through the toes, feeling that sense of length through the full length of the spine, through the sides of the waist, into the rib cage, into the underarms. Draw the thumbs together now to create an interlock, resting the backs of the hands an inch from the floor, drawing the toes in towards the shins, pressing through the heels. So still that sense of lengthening, of stretching, noticing a little more opening now through the space at the underarms. Keep that little bit of tension through the heels. On your next out breath, squeeze the upper body over to the right, creating a deeper stretch through the left side of the waist into the rib cage. Turning your head along the length of the right arm, opening into that left side of the neck. Inhale again to return to center. For a moment, pointing through the toes, pointing through the fingers again, re-lengthening through the body. Then come back to that interlock with the thumbs, that engagement by pushing through the heels, exhaling to squeeze to the left side, opening up through the right of the waist and the rib cage, gently turning the head along the length of the left arm, feeling that deeper pull into the right of the pectoral muscles, into the underarm. Inhale again to return to center, one further full stretch through the body. Then on the out breath this time, draw both knees in towards the belly, bring the hands towards the shins, hugging the knees towards the chest, creating a little release in the lower back. Just do what your body feels is natural here. If you prefer to rock from one side to the other, enjoy that gentle massaging motion over the lower back. Returning again towards center. Keeping the hands just positioned on the knees. The action now is almost as though you're stirring the knees in a way that would kind of mobilize the hip joints. So we're pushing the knees away from the center, widening the knees, drawing the knees back in. It's like you're drawing circles in opposite directions. So widening the legs, easing into the hip joints, creating a little bit of space and release here. Bringing the knees back together once more, repeating that hug of the knees back towards the chest. Then widen the arms, resting the backs of the hands on the floor, positioning the palms shoulder height apart. Let's roll the knees now to the right side, and there's no big rush here. As you start to take your gaze over the left arm, notice the resistance. Notice if that left shoulder peels from the floor. Send a nourishing inhalation to that area, and as you exhale, let that shoulder become a little heavier. Let that left knee drift a little closer towards the floor. On the next exhalation, draw the tummy button in towards the spine to support the weight of the legs as you draw through center, rolling the knees to the opposite side. So the knees go to the left, the head turns to look along the length of the right arm, opening out again into that side of the rib cage, that lovely opening at the top of the chest. Working again with the breath, just find a little more space through your side here. As you exhale, engage the core. Roll the knees back again through center. A further little hug of the knees in towards the chest. Drawing now a figure of 8 with the knees. So again, you get that sense of rocking over the back of the small of the back, over the flat bone of the bottom. Drawing the knees back again to center. Then replacing both feet to the floor. So we're now in a posture where the knees are bent, the feet are hip width apart. We've got that little natural lift in the lower back, so no need to force anything here. Let's just replace the hands either side of the hips. On an out breath, slide that right foot away. Lengthen that leg along the length of the mat. Inhale to point that right toe. Exhale to flex. Inhale to point. Exhale to flex. Keep the foot in a gentle flexion as you almost imagine the foot as a windscreen wiper. So we're drawing the toes over to the right, all the way to the left. You can almost visualize the hip bone, keeping hold of that thigh bone and rotating from one side to the other. Bring that foot back again to center. Engage the core. And we'll lift that heel about 2 or 3 inches from the floor. So we're using the core muscles to engage, to hold the weight of the leg, but this is still quite a gentle, soft action. Inhale again to point the toe. Exhale to flex. Now we'll mobilize the ankle by drawing little circles with the toe. 3 circles in towards the midline of the body. Then take 3 circles away from the midline of the body. Back again to pointing the toe on the inhale, flexing the toe on the exhale, pushing once more through the heel. Just giving ourselves a little break in the lower back by exhaling and hugging that right knee in towards the chest. You can afford to apply a little extra pressure onto the shin bone, almost as though you're rounding the lower back into the floor. We'll gently replace that right foot to the mat, reposition the hands either side of the hips. And all we're going to do now is just allow that right knee to drift open. So we're finding a little space to the inner thigh, keeping the left knee in position, widening into the right inner thigh, opening again into that hip joint. Then as you exhale, engage the core, roll the knee back again to center. We'll stay comfortably on our backs as we lengthen through the left leg, sliding that foot along the mat. Inhaling once more to point through the toe, then to flex. Point through the toe. On the flexion, feel that extra stretch into the calf muscle. We'll keep in a more relaxed version of the flexion, just so that the foot is flat. Then again, we'll repeat that little windscreen wiper action. So there shouldn't be any action for the leg. This is all at the ankle. Bringing that foot back again to center, engaging the core, floating the heel a couple of inches off the floor. So a little bit of engagement to keep the weight of the leg supported. Inhaling to point the left toe, exhaling to flex. Inhale to point, exhale to flex. Drawing 3 circles towards the midline of the body with the left foot. Changing direction, taking those circles the opposite way. And remember, this is all in the ankle. Try not to move from the hip. Bring that foot back again to flexion. Inhale to point. Exhale to flex. Then on the out breath, repeat that little hug of the knee in towards the chest. We're applying a little extra pressure again to widen the space in the lower back. just relieving any tension that engaging the core may have created. Then allow that left foot to drift back to the floor again. This time we're gently opening the left knee out to the left side. So the right knee stays in the same position. What you want to avoid is the weight of the left knee pulling you over onto the left hip. So try and be mindful of the hips remaining square. Every out breath, letting that knee drift a little wider. It deepens the space in the inner thigh. Encourages a little more release into the hips. Then as you exhale, engage the core, slide that knee back again towards center. So our position here is knees still bent. We're going to take the arms a little wider, so make them into a T shape. Again, backs of the hands resting on the floor. Try to have the hands no higher than shoulder height. Now on the out breath, allow both knees to drift towards the right hand side. You'll feel that lift of the back of the left hip coming off the floor as you turn your gaze over the left arm. So this is a different action to the one we did before. It's perfectly okay for that hip to leave the floor, the buttock to come off the floor. I'll take one further full breath here to release through that left side of the hip. Then again, take a deep breath in. On the exhale, engage the core, roll the knees through center. Take the knees over to the opposite side. You might notice that one side feels a little more resistant than the other. Work with the breath, come into the position that you feel supported, mild discomfort, not pain. If it helps you to turn your gaze over the length of the right arm, then use that to balance out that sense of connection through the shoulders, through the back of the hips. On an out breath, engage the core, roll the knees back again through center. Then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. We're allowing both knees to widen now. So I always find when I come to this position that one knee sits a little higher than the other. There's lots of different reasons for this. There might be a little bit of tightness around the knee joint. It might be that the inner thigh is more flexible on one side than the other. Perhaps the hips feel a little tighter. Find the position that's right for you and work with the breath to again find the balance. We should feel equally weighted through the back of the hips, through the shoulders. And we're nice and relaxed through the upper body. The arms are still wide and soft. Then as you exhale, engage the core. Roll both knees back again to center. Reposition the feet hip width distance apart. Feel the sense of connection under the soles of the feet. It might help you to lift all the toes from the floor. Individually replace each toe one at a time. Bring your hands back down to that position either side of the hips. Keep the palms turned up, widening through the chest, resting into the flats of the shoulder blades. Then on the next inhalation, mindfully press down into the soles of the feet. As you exhale, engage the core, lift the bottom from the floor. So we're not looking for any big, expansive back bend here. We're simply lifting the weight of the hips from the floor, keeping a track, ensuring the knees don't roll outwards, that they remain in line with the hips, with the ankles. Inhaling to press the shins forward. If it helps, you can clench the buttocks a little to keep that sense of lifting and lengthening through the fronts of the thighs. On the next inhalation, lift the arms overhead. And again, your choice whether you need to go wide with the arms or whether you've got enough range of movement to bring the back of the hands to the floor. Check in that you haven't lifted the shoulders up to the ears. We should be nice and soft here. Inhale to press into the soles of the feet. Push the shins forward. Keep the knees hip width distance apart. Lengthen through the front of the thighs. Widen through the chest. Then as you come to the next exhalation, start at the space between the shoulder blades and gently roll down through the spine. Try to control this vertebra by vertebra. It sometimes gets a little sticky when you get to middle back. So be kind to the shoulders if they begin to complain or lift. Take the arms wide. Keep rolling down through the spine, softening into lower back, into the back of the hips. Feel how much deeper your lower back sinks to the floor. Then once more, hug both those knees back in towards the chest. Now, hopefully, your strap will be relatively close by. So take a moment to take hold of your strap. We're going to keep the right foot up in the air, so we might as well just drop the left foot to the floor, keeping the left knee bent. Then take hold of your strap, and we'll begin by popping the strap loop around the ball of the foot rather than the instep. So for those of you who are using a stretchy Pilates strap, what I'll remind you is you kind of want to avoid pushing into that stretch, into that elastic. So try to keep that little bit of control with the strap. My preference is to take the strap as long as I can so that my elbow is resting on the floor. And I literally just rest index finger and thumb to the side of the strap so that I'm not pulling anything. So for now, the knee's quite soft. Let's just take a moment with our breath to push through the right heel, to come into flexion, and just get used to that sense of having the leg up overhead. For those of us who are tight in the hamstrings, it's quite challenging to keep that leg long. Resist the temptation to bend the knee too much. Work with the breath, pushing through the heel. And if you want a little bit of release, just gently point the toe. As you bring the foot back into flexion again, push through the heel, deepen that stretch. Lovely. So again, there's no tension in the hands. We're not pulling the leg. We're keeping everything in the upper body soft. We're now going to just gently drift that right leg out towards the right hand side. There's always a point where it feels a bit like a tipping point. It helps at this moment to just allow that left knee to widen a little further, just to keep that sense of balance again, equally weighted through the back of the hips. Again, if the tension feels too much in the inner thigh, try pointing the toe. Then when you come back to flexion, push through the heel. This intensifies that stretch to the inner thigh. And we're all made differently, so you work with the breath to get to the maximum stretch for you. You'll know when you've overdone it, so don't be a hero. Beautiful. Now this next action is just as important to do slowly. This is where all the work is. So again, focus on that exhalation to engage the core. And rather than whacking the foot back to center, let's slowly tease the leg back up. Perfect. You might want to remind yourself to bring that left knee back into alignment again with the hip, to press a little more deeply through the right heel. And then my easy option here is just to walk hand over hand so that we're effectively shortening the strap, drawing the thigh a little closer to the chest, pressing a little more keenly through that right heel. And again, the magic release button here is pointing the toe. Let's remain in flexion for a moment longer. Then we'll soften off that tension by sliding the hands back down the strap. And rather than holding the strap with the right hand this time, we're just going to swap over so that it's the left hand that's gently taking that weight of the leg. Take the right arm out the way. Extend the left leg along the mat. So no bend in the knee now. Then on the out breath, let that right leg drift over the midline of the body. So the hips will inevitably lift from the floor. The trick is to try to keep that left hip nicely balanced as you let the weight of the right leg come over the midline of the body, pressing through the heel, turning your gaze along the length of the right arm. Again, avoiding the right shoulder lifting from the floor. If your shoulders come up, chances are the leg's a little bit further than it needs to be. So just bring yourself back again to center. Nice deep breath, visualizing a widening from fingertip to fingertip, opening through the collarbones, through the chest. Exhaling to engage the core, press through the right heel and guide the foot back again to center. Perfect. I always like to support the lower back by bending the left knee again. Get that lower back into the floor. Then you can release the tension on the strap, bending the right knee, sliding the strap off the foot, replacing that foot to the floor. I always think it's quite good fun at this moment to just take a moment and compare the length of your right leg with your left leg. The right leg feels about an inch longer. So let's repeat the same action on the other side. So once more, we're taking the strap, we're popping it around the ball of the foot rather than the instep. We'll keep the right knee bent. Remember, that's our friend to support the lower back. And we've just got that gentle touch on the strap, left elbow to the floor, right arm out to the side, just stops you from grabbing hold of the strap. Pushing a little more keenly through the heel, sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. When you first take this initial stretch, it always feels a little bit hot, a little bit tight. So play around with pointing the toe, flexing the toe, pressing through the heel, just finding that little bit of edge through the back of the leg. So we're going to keep in that nice, soft but engaged flexion in the foot, keeping the right knee bent as we drift that left leg out to the left side. Now, ideally in this posture, we want to keep both hips stuck to the floor. So to stop you rolling onto that left hip, try widening the right knee. See if you can remember how this felt on the other side and just compare. Just notice the difference in both sides. Remember, pointing the toe might give you a little bit of release. When you come back to flexion and push through the heel, it all switches on again. Wide through the chest. Inhaling fingertip to fingertip. Then as you exhale, engage the core, the slow release back to center, no rush. Bringing the foot back to flexion. Then testing that little hamstring stretch a little deeper, walking hand over hand, shortening the strap, drawing the strap a little closer towards the body. Remember, our intention here is to lengthen through the leg, to get rid of that little bend in the knee, pressing through the heel, pointing the toe for a little release, back to flexion, pushing through the heel, deepening the length. Then on the out breath, a little bit of slack as you slide that right elbow back to the floor. So the strap is now held in the right hand. The left arm comes out to make that half cross on the left. Slide the right foot along the length of the mat. This one doesn't work if you keep the right knee bent, so take a moment to get you set up right. Then on the out breath, bring the left leg over the midline of the body. We're not in a rush to get onto that right hip, so take your time. And again, to find balance, looking over the length of the left arm might just help. It encourages that opening into the side of the chest. You feel that lovely twist through the side of the belly. You might release any sciatic tension in the lower back, in the buttock. Keep that left shoulder nice and soft towards the floor. Visualizing again that inhalation from fingertip to fingertip as you widen through the chest, through the collarbones. Keep that left foot in flexion. Then as you exhale, engage the core, support the lower back. Roll the knee back again towards center. Safety first, bend the right knee up, relax the lower back. Take a little bit of softness now in that left knee as you slide that strap off that left foot. Lovely. So we're going to keep the strap in our hands, but this time rather than using the loop, we're going to find the space right in the center of the strap. So if you bring both knees in, position the balls of the feet onto the strap. Let the arms again slide down so the elbows are rested, so you're not pulling anything and holding your legs up. Then just take to straightening the legs. My knees tend to drift together in this posture, so take the feet a little wider, push through the heels. And effectively by drawing down onto the ends of the strap, that creates weight and a little bit of pressure to bring those feet firmly into flexion. It encourages a deeper stretch into the back of the hamstrings. If like me, you're tight in the calves, you will also be getting a stretch there. The tricky thing is if you're wearing socks, that strap will keep slipping off very annoyingly. Keep pressing through the heels, lengthening into that stretch, rounding the lower back to the floor, widening through the chest. Then on the out breath, soften your grip, soften the knees. Let that strap slide off the feet. Just pop it to one side for now. Hugging the knees once more in towards the chest. Lovely. Now widen the arms into that T shape once more. On the out breath, roll both knees over to the right side. Notice how the shoulder feels a lot more receptive to staying in place. Turn your gaze over the length of the left arm, wide through the chest. Nice and open through that left side of the buttock into the hip. Further full breath rotation here. Deep inhalation, widening from fingertip to fingertip. On a full exhalation, engage the core, roll the knees through center. And we're going to take those knees all the way to the opposite side. Turning the gaze now over the right arm. Breathing into that right side of the rib cage. I feel it particularly tight tonight in the pectoral muscles. So just forward of the armpit, widening into that space. You spend a lot of time at a desk. That area can become very tight, constantly switched on. Then as you exhale, Use that core engagement to support the weight of your legs through centre. Hug both knees in towards the chest. You might want to reposition the hands either behind the thighs or press the hands on top of the shins. Engage the core. Gently roll yourself up into a seated position. Then roll yourself back down. So we're using the core muscles to control this action. There's no sudden movements. Rocking backwards and forwards. Then lifting up into that full seated position. Perfect. I can see you all now. Sometimes the camera angle's not great and I can see a foot every now and again. Wonderful. Let's come into a seated wide leg position. We've done all that work in the inner thigh, so we might as well put it to good use. So toes pointing up towards the ceiling. We've practiced this posture the last couple of weeks, but you'll perhaps have found that we feel a bit tight and that the knees are jumping up. This evening, it's a lot easier to get those feet to the floor because we've warmed up the hamstring muscles. So remember to lift and lengthen out of the sit bones. We don't want any curve. We don't want any weight forward. Draw the shoulders back and down. Top of the head parallel to the ceiling. We always aim to lead from the chest rather than from the chin. So lengthen the sternum forward, position the hands towards the floor, and then working with the breath, just take your time to walk your hands forward. Let's keep those toes pointing up. Yeah, oh yeah, sorry. Suddenly it gets tighter again, doesn't it? Then on the out breath, breathe the elbows a little lower to the floor. Remember, we're avoiding that turtle, curvy, humpy back. Extending the sternum forward. Engage the core. Inhale to push into the palms. Then walk the hands back again to center. Nice and slowly does it. Keep the lower back supported. Nice. Bend. What's this? The right leg. Bring the sole of that foot in towards the inner thigh. You're going to keep that toe pointing up towards the ceiling, lifting and lengthening out of the sit bones. So I'm going to take left hand to right knee, right hand behind the hip. Make sure that you set now that the shoulders remain facing forward rather than on a twist. Lift up and lengthen out of the sit bones. Follow the right side of the rib cage. And as your rib cage starts to twist towards the back of the room, allow your head to follow. Neck mobility might stop you from going through full range of movement here, so be kind to yourself. If you have the mobility to turn your gaze over that shoulder, just check in that you haven't inadvertently put all your weight onto the right sit bone. Keep the weight equally distributed. Then as you exhale, engage the core. Let go of the hands off the knee and behind and drift the chest back again to forward. Keeping that toe pointing up towards the ceiling, both hands again on the floor, and out breath to just start that little walk forward. So all we're doing here is just really intensifying the stretch to the inner thighs one at a time, because clearly when we do both legs, we can only go as far as the shortest one will allow us. You might have one very long, bendy leg. You probably have to have that looked at if you do. Push down into the palms of the hands, engage the core, walk the hands back again to center. Extend that right leg, bend that left knee. So there's a moment where we just align the inside of the thigh with the inside of the foot, the underside of the foot. Lift up and lengthen out of the sit bones. That right toe is still standing to attention. Right hand to left knee, left hand behind the hip, lifting up and lengthening, following the side of the rib cage. So the twist begins in the middle thoracic spine. Then we bring the head in to start to look over that shoulder. You want to avoid leaning forward, so draw the shoulder blades together and remind yourself to lift again out of the sit bones. Keep that right toe active, pointing up towards the ceiling. Then as you exhale, release the grip. Bring your shoulders to face forward, both hands in front of that bent knee, in front of the shin, and walk the hands forward. Easing a little more deeply into that posture. Keep that right toe pointing up, up, up. Then as you exhale, walk the hands back again to center. Lovely. So now crossing our legs should be a piece of cake. I'm going to bring the right foot in front of the left. So I'm drawing the left heel in towards the groin, parking it there in front of the, well, in theory in front of the perineum, but I'm afraid that's a long way gone for me. Bringing the right foot in front of the left. So if you were to look down, you've kind of stacked the ankles one in front of the other. I mean the heels, not the ankles. Kelly's like, I'm so glad you clarified that, because my ankles were not one in front of the other. Quite right too. We would have broken ankles if that was the case. Reposition the palms to the floor. So again, we don't want the curve in the spine, so keep the lift. As you exhale, bring that little walk forward. So for some of us, this is an easier posture than having the legs wide. If you particularly tighten the inner thighs, this is perhaps a little more pleasant. I say that because it's more pleasant for me. Most of you probably prefer the other one, but we're all different, and it'd be boring if we weren't. So this is the one that sometimes we get to this position and we kind of go, actually, I want to go further, but I don't want to affect my form. I don't want to curve the spine. So quite a nice one to do is to stack one fist on top of the other and bring the forehead to rest there. So if you find this a particularly easy posture to get into, that just gives you a little challenge, a little bit further to get to. If you're screaming at me, then I apologise. For those of you who are more flexible still, place the left palm on the floor, right palm on top of left, then bring your forehead towards the back of the hands. Now, when I do that, my bottom lifts from the floor, so I know that it's too far for me. We'll keep that forehead extended forward. You're just going to bring the hands almost either side of the head, really, as you push into the palms and walk yourself back again towards centre. Lovely. Bring both hands behind the lower back, shoulder blades drawn together. So the counter to that forward fold is to bring the spine into the opposite action. So the opposite action is avoiding pressing into the fingertips, avoiding taking your weight back, rounding down through the sit bones, lifting through the sternum, drawing the shoulder blades together, lifting your gaze up towards the ceiling. So you can feel a nice gentle curve through the spine without overdoing it, without opening the lower back too much. Then as you exhale, release. Let the head become parallel to the underside of the chin parallel to the floor again. We're going to take both hands either side of the knees. Again, another counter. This time we're taking a curve into the spine. So visualize that you're doing a cat stretch, exhaling to draw the tummy button in, rolling through the spine. So you're pushing the lower back towards the back of the room, rounding the spine, tucking the chin to the chest, stretching through those muscles through the wide back. Then as you inhale, lift the sternum forward, draw the shoulder blades together, lift the chest again, and open your gaze towards the ceiling. Then release, come back to a centered position. Let's do that leg cross, the opposite foot in front. So in my case, the right foot's going behind, the left foot in front. I have to stack on this side because I don't have the same level of flexibility. Have the hands either side of the hips. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to slide the right hand away. The first part of this action is to create that diagonal line. So there's no bend in this right arm. It's nice and lengthened, and you're pushing your upper body back up again without locking the arm out. Lengthen through the fingertips on the left hand. Now soften the right elbow. The action is almost as though you're drawing the elbow in towards the rib cage, lifting the left arm up. As the left arm comes up and over the ear, let's keep that stretch to the side rather than bringing the weight forward. Let's open through the side of the waist, the rib cage, keeping both sit bones on the floor. Then inhale to lift, come back to center. Exactly the same action on the opposite side. So set that lovely strong diagonal opening through the heart space. Lengthen, extend, release over to the side. Kind of do with your head what feels comfortable. Some people like to look down, some people like to look up. I just like to let it all hang loose. Deepening that stretch. Then inhaling to lift and come back to center. So we're still working with the spine, but in this next posture, we're also going to work a little bit into the hips and into the inner thighs that we've prepared earlier. I feel like Delia Smith here. So bring the hands behind the lower back. It is permissible in this posture to gently bring your weight back, but again, don't overdo it. We're not putting weight into the wrists. To counter that, push the shins forward and lift the bottom from the floor. So we get a nice stretch through the front of the thighs into the hip flexors, open through the chest, lift the gaze towards the ceiling. Then release the sit bones back again towards the floor. Nice. Lifting back up into a center position. Lovely. I'm not going to push this seated position. Let's take it back into a butterfly pose. So we did this laying down the last time. And if you've got your strap to hand, if you don't have it, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to show you a little tip that you can do with the butterfly pose. So again, we're going to use our loop. We're going to put our loop all the way around the feet. So the loop goes behind the heels, over the top of the ankles, and then you've still got your strap in center. It's almost as if you're trussing yourself up like a turkey for Christmas. That can never be a good thing, can it, if you describe it that way? And then you kind of like just gently pull the heels towards you a little further. So by using the straps, you can get that tension a little bit deeper, widening the knees. Beautiful, beautiful. Lifting and lengthening. Then just to give you something to do, hinge the upper body forward. It's probably easier at this point to take hold of the feet, something to grab hold of. There's a temptation here to push with your elbows to widen the knees. There's no need to do that. Just let gravity take care of that stretch in the inner thigh. Draw the shoulder blades together, engage the core, inhale to lift and lengthen. Fabulous. So we don't want to trip up. We're going to take the strap off of the ankles. We're going to keep hold of the strap. We're going to do a posture that we've done the last couple of weeks, but we've done it strapless. I'm just going to show you a different way of doing it. So you know that action where we lift one leg and we take it out to the side? When we take hold of the foot, we can obviously only go as far as our arm will let us go. It's often that's the limitation. So what we're going to do is take the left hand grab hold of the left ankle just so you get something to hold on to. Wrap your little loop of your strap around the instep, not the ball of the right foot. Push through the heel, then slide the hand down the strap. Try not to roll back. Keep up onto the sit bones and push through the heel. If you don't like the feeling of it with the strap, you can always go back to the conventional way that we normally do it, pushing through the heel. I must confess, I find this easier because I just think you've got a bit more grip to hold on to. But some people are uncomfortable lifting the shoulder. Some people find it difficult to get the leg up. Then bring that foot back into centre. We'll do the same on the other side. Try it with and without the strap so that you know which version is best for you. Pressing through the heel, lifting through the sit bones. I mean, even this without using the strap tonight feels easier because we've done so much on the hamstrings. Then draw those heels together. Engage the core, keep pressing down through the sit bones. Lift through the heels, lift through the sternum. Remember, I get 5 points for everyone that rolls back. I'm a winner! So although we're all concentrating really hard on just staying upright, remember, push through the sit bones, press through the heels, lift through the sternum. I don't ask for much, just perfection. Beautiful. Bring the soles of the feet together. That was a very athletic roll back there. Lift and lengthen. As you exhale, hinge forward again. Ease through the hips. I'm telling you, if you had any emotional tension built up today, you are going to cry like a baby tonight. Not that I think that's something I should be proud of. Engage the core, lift and lengthen through centre. I say it with love. Because we've worked so much into this, the emotional centre, into the hips, it might be that you've just moved a few bits around. So if tears come, let them go, lean into it. It's good for you. Good release, good cleanse. So we're going to bring the knees together. We're then going to roll back. If you prefer to take your Shavasana with the lights dimmed or with a blanket or with socks on, get yourself into your comfortable position. I'm going to suggest that we start with the knees bent when you lie back, just because we've done quite a lot of seated upright stuff and we don't want to overdo it. And twang the lower back. So get yourself comfortable. And then you can decide whether you perhaps want to gently rock the knees from one side to the other. If you perhaps need to do a little bit of a hug of the knees in towards the chest. And then when you come to settle the feet back in centre, you can test whether lengthening the legs will support you or whether you just prefer to stay in that bent knee position. If you do choose to lengthen the legs, I suggest that you widen the feet, shoulder width distance apart. Let the feet become heavy. I sometimes quite like that feeling of the feet rolling outwards, that sense of the inner thighs releasing outwards. Softening the inner thighs, relaxing through the back of the legs. Noticing the weight of your spine against the floor. Noticing the weight of your head. Checking in again. The teeth are unclenched. The tongue relaxed. The eyebrows soft and released. rather than resting your face with a frown. Try resting your face with a gentle smile playing at the lips. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Let that breath go with an audible sigh. Another deep breath in through the nose. Another noisy exhalation. And then allow your breath to find a natural, easy rhythm. Sending the breath once more to any part of the body, asking for a little extra attention. Knowing that during this Shavasana time, you can use your energy, your inner calm to heal, to release. And bring your full attention all the way down to the soles of the feet. Relax the right foot, relax the left foot. Feel both feet fully released and relaxed. Relax the ankles, the calves and the shins. Softening the ankles, the calves, the shins and the knees. A release behind the knees, a softening around the knees. The thighs, soft, heavy, fully released. You might notice your legs feel a little heavier. Your hips feel more released. The weight of your lower body drawing you a little deeper into the earth beneath you. Notice the weight of your arms by your side. Even if you wanted to lift them, the weight of your arms continues to sink and release into the floor. Soften the fingers of the right hand, of the left hand. Soften the palms. Feel the backs of the hands heavy. The wrists release. The forearms soft. The elbows heavy. Feel the upper arms soften, widen. Notice the weight of your arms, creating a sense of release, deep heaviness through the shoulders, through the wide muscles of the back. Notice that widening through the chest, through the belly. Notice the pace of your breath. Deep, steady inhalation. That long, slow exhalation. Permit yourself a moment of quiet and calm here. Anytime you feel your attention wanders, bring the focus back to the breath. Remain aware of your space within this room, aware of your connection with the earth beneath you. And even though the body feels heavy, you remain aware that you are practicing Shavasana. Repeat once more that deep inhalation through the nose, releasing that breath with an audible sigh. A further deep breath in through the nose, a noisy exhale. Aware once more of the cool air in the room against your face, your hands, and your feet. Now prepare to return to a comfortable seated position, perhaps having a stretch, perhaps rolling to one side. Returning when you're ready to a comfortable seated position. Bringing your hands to an Anjali Mudra at your heart space. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Have a lovely week ahead, folks.
Thank you, Angela.
You're very welcome.